Having the proper two-handed pistol grip is absolutely critical to your ability to make accurate hits, fast follow-up shots, and control the recoil of the firearm. In this video, we are going to discuss the proper two-handed pistol grip and how you can master this foundational skill. What's up, guys? Ryan here with Carry University, and welcome to my channel. If you're brand new, make sure to subscribe. We talk about everything that you need to know to become a safe pistol shooter, an effective concealed carry permit holder, to keep you and your family members safe. So make sure you subscribe. You know, I find myself at the gun range most days of the week, and I'm always shocked at how many people are at the gun range shooting, and they just don't understand the basic foundational skill of having the proper two-handed pistol grip. So, in this video, we're gonna talk about exactly what makes up the proper grip. First, your dominant hand should be as high up on the firearm as possible. The higher up your hand is, the more of the energy of the slide is gonna transfer through the skeleton of your body instead of recoiling up. Now, do you see how my hand is kind of bubbling up right by the beaver tail? This is your goal. This tells you that you do have a proper high grip. You also want to make sure that your dominant hand thumb knuckle is on the opposite side of the pistol. Do you see here in the back part of my hand? The goal is that the slide of the firearm is going to be lined up perfectly with the bone in my forearm. If my grip was canted just a little bit over to the left, you would notice that the slide is no longer lined up with the bone in my arm. What effect would you guess this is going to cause on the shooter? If you said it will cause the shooter to shoot right of their intended target, you would be correct. The second major impact this is going to have is it's going to cause the shooter to notice additional felt recoil. The gun will be controlling you instead of you controlling the gun. Make sure that your trigger finger is touching the seam between the slide and the frame. It should never be hovering anywhere near or on the trigger. The middle finger of your dominant hand should be touching the top of the trigger guard, and your thumb should be pointed straight up. Using the index finger of your support hand, touch the top of the trigger guard. In the empty space, you're going to place the heel of your support hand in front of your dominant hand and never on top of it. Your thumb should be stacked one on top of another and never crossed. With your support hand, rotate your wrist at a 45-degree angle. Do you notice how there is zero gap in between my two hands? Think about your hands kind of like a vise wrapping around the pistol. The more securely that your hands can wrap around that gun, the more you will be in control instead of the firearm being in control of you. Another common misconception that people have is how much should they be squeezing? You basically want to apply equal pressure with each hand. Just imagine that you're swinging a hammer. You basically want to use that amount of force. Now that we've achieved the proper two-handed grip, or at least you think you have, we need to test our grip. One of the ways you can do this is by slightly tilting the firearm up and comparing the length of your trigger finger of your dominant hand with the support hand thumb. We want both of these to be perfectly lined up. If the support hand thumb was not the same length as my dominant hand trigger finger, kind of like this, that would tell me that there is a gap in my hand and I do have an inappropriate grip. The second method to test your grip and to identify if you do have a cant in your dominant hand is to hold the firearm with your dominant hand only. Point it at the target and squeeze the pistol as hard as you can. Do you notice how the firearm is shaking? However, it is still pointed exactly at the target. This tells me that I do not have a cant in my grip. However, if I did have a cant, when you squeeze it, you can notice that the firearm tilts or moves over to the right. The final way to test to see if you have achieved the proper two-handed pistol grip is during live fire shooting. Have you ever noticed that as you're shooting, you fire around and then you readjust your grip and then you fire again, readjust the grip? That's occurring because you have a poor, inappropriate grip. And when you press that trigger, the firearm recoils and it slips out of your hand, causing you to have to readjust the grip. Now, this could be because you have a poor grip, or it could be because you have very weak hands and wrists. One of the things that I like to do is I keep a grip strengthening ball in the cup holder in my truck, And as I'm driving, getting a little frustrated with traffic, I can easily squeeze this ball and strengthen the grips in my hands and my forearms. The bottom line is, the stronger your hands and forearms become, the better able you will be to control the firearm and the felt recoil. Now, you're probably wondering why achieving the proper two-handed grip is so important. Well, as I mentioned before, if you are not able to achieve this proper two-handed grip, you're probably not going to get very accurate hits on the target. You're also going to have a very challenging time making fast, accurate shots during rapid fire. And again, our goal is always to control the recoil. The primary way we're going to do that is with a proper two-handed pistol grip and achieving the proper shooting position. These are all skills that I talk about in depth in my Beginner's Guide to Firearms course and my 21-day dry fire challenge course, so check those out if you haven't already. Another thing that is really important, I talk a lot in my videos and my different courses about building positive neural networks or pathways in your brain for how to perform a specific task. Your goal when you're achieving and practicing this proper two-handed pistol grip is to really remember exactly how your hands feel. How does your hand feel when it's choked up really high on the beaver tail? How do your hands feel as they are stacked and your thumbs are stacked pointed forward? We need to remember this stuff. We need to remember what it feels like to not have a cant in your grip, so that if you accidentally do begin to get a cant, your brain's going to automatically notice that something just doesn't seem right, and you can very quickly fix it before creating training scars. Many new shooters, they rush right away. They go buy a gun, they walk into a gun range, and they just start blasting away. And unbeknownst to them, they are creating massive negative habits in their brain because they have not established the basic fundamentals of pistol shooting, like the proper two-handed grip. So thanks. I appreciate you guys for watching this video and taking the time to really master this critical concept. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe, share the video, comment down below, and until next time, keep training and stay safe.